Hi guys, welcome back to Running a Freelance Design Business. This is lesson 22, handling client meetings and client feedback. My name is Ben Gribbin. In this lesson, we're going to help you understand how you can attend a meeting, how you can make the best possible impression, but also how you can actually collate, and understand client feedback. Client views meetings as very important. You might view them as a waste of time, but not all of them are, especially initial project meetings. So you need to work out what's going to be important, what isn't, because sometimes clients want to meet excessively. So when you attend a meeting, just make sure it's going to be worthwhile going. Don't go for a 5-minute meeting if you have to travel 2 hours and spend half an hour getting ready. It just doesn't work. It'll take you a little bit of time to develop the ability to understand that, but just suggest to your client, can we do it by telephone? Can we do it by email or some other medium? When you're attending meetings, you should always look professional and smart. And I know that sounds like a very silly thing to say because it's so obvious. However, you'd be surprised the amount of freelancers I've seen when I've been at a client's place of work and I've seen a freelance SEO person or just someone coming in for a job interview and they've been dressed in tracksuit bottoms, trainers, sneakers, whatever, and they just look really scruffy. It doesn't work. So make sure you look smart. You don't have to wear a shirt and tie, but you can make an effort and be super sharp when you're attending meetings, clean cut, everything like that, so that you make a good impression on your client. Things to take with you, very obvious, things like notebooks, maybe an iPad. Just be aware if you're using these to take notes, people are drawn very much to a screen. If I hold up the screen of an iPad right now, you'll be drawn to the iPad screen rather than looking at my face, listening to what I'm saying. So make sure that you're not actually going to be distracting your client. Try if you can to point the screen away from them. Speaking of notebooks, take a sketchbook or a notepad and a pen so you can write down notes so your clients can help draw out any changes they want to designs, things like that. Take a bag to put it all in. If you're going to be presenting hard or printed media, perhaps take a big artist folder or something similar, because it helps you just store them all, helps them stop getting creased, and it'll keep them looking professional. And it's just easier carrying unwieldy sized cardboard or card sheets in an artist's presentation or folder. Make sure you've got all the cables you need for your batteries, for laptops, that sort of stuff, so you're not going to be embarrassing yourself. Make sure that the time you spend at the meeting is going to be all profitable. Make sure you've pre-planned what you want to talk about so you cover everything in the meeting. Don't forget anything important. Discuss with your client whether after the initial few meetings maybe you could just do this over Skype, phone, fax, email, especially if it's design changes, because things can be done so fast nowadays over the internet. You might want to think about noting down the expenses you've incurred attending a meeting, because a lot of the time that is all tax deductible. However, once you're at the meeting, how can you collect client feedback? How can you handle client feedback? Well, let's break it down for web designers, and then we'll look at print, graphic, and logo designers afterwards. If you're a web designer, you'll likely have something that's effectively just virtual or digital. So ideally, you'll have some sort of electronic way of showing your client a design. Make it click through, even if it's just a quick Photoshop splice or a sliced up image, so that links work, so that clients can check it out on their iPad or on your laptop, and that they can look through a site, they can see everything, how it works. If that's not going to be feasible, then perhaps you could work on doing a step-by-step, especially if it's like a checkout process or something like that. You could just have a step-by-step series of images linked together, so you can just click them, and it cycles through, and your clients can display or view those. You might be doing this on a projector. If you are, make sure you've got like a remote or something. You can cycle through the images to discuss them, point out the key points, point out areas where it meets your client's specification, and tell them why you've done things in a certain way. If the button's to the left, tell them why it's on the left, and that sort of thing. If you can't do that, well, you can produce galleries in Photoshop, in Dreamweaver, in WordPress to demo the visuals. One important note, if you're going to be demoing a website on a virtual kind of setup, so on your laptop, you want to hand the laptop to the client so they can play around with the website, it might be worth setting up a local host or a local web server. This is a great article that will show you how to do that, because that means that if the internet crashes or for whatever reason the website is down, it won't be if it's locally supported. It's on on a server, on that laptop. It will work, your client can view it, and it's a very secure thing to do as well. So check that out. Make sure you're doing that if you are demoing an actual full website. As you go along, make sure you're writing down any notes the clients are saying. Perhaps they will write the notes down. If you've got a sort of printed media, you can actually have them write out notes. Perhaps if you give them screenshots, they can actually make physical changes themselves. They can write down what they want changing, draw arrows, that sort of stuff. Very handy to do. Gives you a very visual list of changes that you need to make, and it's very handy and very easy to do then when you go back to it later on. Great little service that I've used sometimes is Sketch. Let's have a look at Sketch. Okay, so I've got design open here in preview. Let's say we are showing this to the client. We can then go ahead and use Snap, this little option here. Say the client wants to make a change to the area that the logo is situated in. All we need to do is highlight the logo area, and we can then get this little snapshot here. Then we are able to add notes like so. So we say the client says, add more padding around studios. Like so. And you can resize those, you can drag those around. Let's say the client wanted those moving to the left or to the right, for example. We could do that very easily. We can just get these arrows, do that. So that's a brilliant little tool. Then all you need to do is just drag that image. You can save it into a folder on your desktop. You can share it to the Sketch service or Evernote, and then you are able to keep a track of all the changes a client wants making. One idea would be to put them all into folders, so that you had folder 1 changes, folder 2 changes, so you're not getting confused. Okay, so that's Sketch, a great little tool if you are demoing designs to clients. However, what if you are a print or a logo or a graphic designer? Well, likely you'll want to actually create mock-ups. You might be doing packaging design, so create the packaging and create a prototype. If you're designing business cards or a logo, demo them on letterheads, show them, get some printed out, show them to the client so they can physically hold them, they can see them, they can feel them, they can see what they look like, how they're going to work, that sort of thing. If you've got brochures, print out a couple of brochures. Take a few, especially if there's going to be more than one person at the meeting, so you can all see them. You might put some, like an acetate sheet over the top so clients can actually make notes, drawings, sketches on top of that, so you can then refer to that back if they've got any changes. Speaking of changes, what if your clients want something completely out of the blue, something totally daft? Explain tactfully why you think it's a bad idea. Underline what it's going to mean for the client. I once worked on a project where the client wanted a ladies' product website themed on a film which was about murder, blood, gore, and it was a very gothy, sort of seedy film. I was completely bemused. I was sat there, I didn't know what to say, I was a bit dumbstruck. However, I listened to why they wanted it, and I disagreed that it wouldn't suit the target audience, it would cause them problems with marketing and things like that. I explained why, very tactfully, very calmly. However, in the end, the client still wanted to go with that site, they had it made, and then we ended up remaking it within a year. So, from that little lesson there, you can learn why it's important to stress to a client more than I did. If you genuinely disagree with an idea, tell them from your experience as a designer and things like that why it's not going to work. With that said, you are working for the client, you are the designer, and if they want something doing a certain way and you've told them, okay, it's not going to work, perhaps you could do it this way, this way, this way, and they still want it doing that certain way, then you're going to have to do it because you are employed by them and you've suggested different ideas, you've told them why you think it's a bad idea, but at the end of the day, it's down to your client's decision. They're paying the bills, they have the right to choose what they want doing with their design work. If your client gives you feedback, find out why. Ask them, well, why have you said that? Why do you want this changing? Why do you want this doing? Because you've obviously designed something to be a certain way because you think it works, it looks good, it achieves a certain function. If they want to change that, find out why. And it's important you do that purely because if you know why they want to change something, why they feel something doesn't quite meet their criteria, then you can actually say, well, hang on a minute, you said let's do it this way, but why don't we change it this way? That's going to help you get to the final solution a lot quicker than if a client was to say, well, we've changed it again and we don't really like the design, we don't like the colours, whatever. So find out the reason behind the client's request for a change and just ask them, okay, well, can I have a little think about this as well and see if I can come up with a better solution? That's going to cut out the number of changes you have to make, the number of revisions. It's going to help your client see you're a very positive, proactive designer. A few more suggestions. If your client gives you feedback and says, well, your design work's not very good, your customer service isn't very good, find out why. What has made them say that? You need to know why, because you want to improve, you want to make sure all your customers in the future and current customers have the best possible service. So ask them why they say that. If it's a genuine concern, then address it. And that shows that it's important to you, it shows that you actually care about them. However, if it's unfounded or they've just said it because they're not very happy or grumpy that day, then you can just view it as an unfounded, not true thing. You can maybe discard it. But again, if it's genuine, it's going to help you improve as a designer, it's going to help you improve as a freelancer, and it's going to show them that you have excellent work ethics and that you actually care about the work you are producing. Finally, try to avoid at all costs taking your laptop with Photoshop loaded on or InDesign or whatever program you use and designing alongside a client. That's just going to help create the situation where you are a Photoshop operator and they're saying, well, just move that box 10 pixels to the left, move that up, change that colour. And in the end, you're not being used as a designer. So try to avoid that. Try to explain why if it's requested by a client so that you're not ended up doing lots of work and not being utilised as a designer. So in this lesson, we've looked at how you can handle client meetings. We've looked at the equipment you need to take with you. We've looked at how you should dress. We've considered things like how you can actually present designs to clients, how you can demo them, and then also we looked at how you can collect feedback. Your task for the lesson is to think about how you will collect feedback from your clients. What kind of mediums do you work in? Are you a print or logo designer? Are you a web designer? Can you set up the environment to display new designs? So for example, if you're a print designer, can you print off a couple of business cards, a couple of brochures, that sort of thing, just to show as samples to clients. Next time on Running a Freelance Design Business, we'll be looking at communication. Thanks for watching.